Is Joe Flacco ready for a revenge game? Game 1? This is Jets Chaos. I'm Jeremy. I bring the chaos, and we're going to find out. Is this going to be a revenge game for Joe Flacco? Are we going to beat the Baltimore Ravens? We're going to know soon enough. But here's what I have to say about it.
I would regret it if people look back at the first episode and you weren't on it.
Yeah, well, I like that. It's called forward thinking.
We have one of the worst beats in the world. We do. Our beat is horrible.
Connor could shove that article up his ass.
And then I went to that game, and I was like, this is the greatest team I've ever seen in my life. I'm a Jet fan. This is going to be the greatest run ever. Yeah.
No, because if they take Aquanu, I'm not complaining.
Joe Douglas is the king of keeping shit close to the vest.
A 2, a 4, and a 6 for Darnold?
Did the Jets really ruin Sam Darnold, or did Sam Darnold just suck all along and we were just trying to talk ourselves into it?
And Hamilton is a player who can potentially make a very big impact.
And suddenly here we are today, you can't get rid of him.
Right, it's like a plague.
Joe Douglas was hired because he's not those general managers.
Okay, Luscious.
Somebody is going to fall just like Elijah Moore did, just like Michael Carter did.
You know, what would, if you had one sentence to say to Joe Douglas, what would you say? So you would say, you had me at hello, and then give him a big old wet one right on the smack.
So who do we got here today? We got Harlan Abraham, first one in. Greetings. Daniel C. wants to bench Wilson for the year already. We'll talk about that later. New York Sports Wicker Media. He's backstage and he's in the chat. How about that? The new celebrity of One Jets Drive, proud New York Jets fan. Well, he's half of the new celebrities because maybe we'll see him here later. Mark Reese. I don't know if you saw episode 2 of Jets One Drive, but they were the ones yelling sauce. It was pretty awesome. Mike Galizia from Florida. How are you? Hope you're doing well out there. GVH in the house. He's out there. Jets mess. Hey, snacks. I'm on a diet, though, so not as many snacks as I used to or I need. John Hepburn. What is up, fellas? What is up to you? Robert S. is here. Guy Fisher in the chat. We will be talking to you soon. I'll try to get to these chats, but for now, we have some business to take care of. Business. Because I have to do something right now, and that is I have to introduce my co-host. He's been gone for a few days, but he's really excited now. The Mets are on fire. That's right. And winning. Yay! We haven't had a winning team, a New York baseball team win a game in what feels like a long time. Anyway, he's the North Carolina visiting, hot dog eating, devour pizza eating, gets upset if his camera's not working or his sound's not working. Don't mess with him. Don't piss him off in the chat or he'll come after you. He's the greatest co-host in the world. Wicker Man, watching Game 99. What is up?
All right, that's the way to start it. That was a good one. I think I had a couple of glass panes shatter outside my apartment. That was a good one.
That's awesome.
And no, I'm not going to come after you. I'll never come after somebody in the chat. I might come after an opinion in the chat, and there are two different things. And the same thing happens to me as well. That's just part of it. So,
you mean you're not going to fly to John Hepburn's house and pick a fight with him?
What? No, I'm cool with John Hepburn.
I know.
I don't know. I don't know about John Hepburn. I got a couple of people in mind where I just want to like shake them up a little bit. It's just like, what are you thinking right now?
Well, guess what? What I'm thinking right now is we got to introduce our special guest this week.
I think what you're thinking.
Okay. Well, I'm excited for this one. Okay. And I'm going to give some hints. You might figure it out when I start talking. savages. I don't have the fancy sound effects, but I can say, are you ready, savages? Are you ready? Are you ready to talk about the Jets? Are you ready to talk about Joe Flacco? Are you ready to jet up, savages? That's right. If you haven't figured that out already, he's the other California living, savage calling, Jet fanatic talking, greatest Long Beach Jets fan in the world! Long Beach Joe!
What's going on? Let me tell you something. Chaos, that is an unbelievable intro. I'm telling you right now, that is so phenomenal. Listen, salutes to you. Salutes to Wicker Media as well. Man, that is great. You guys are doing great things, man. Thank you for having me on. You know, I love coming and talking to you folks about the New York Jets and everything we got going on. And salutes to everybody in the chat as well watching. I appreciate y'all too.
Oh, I forgot that in my intro. I should have also mentioned the word salutes. You see,
salutes, and you also got to put in the bio talk at Long Beach Joe because he talks back. You got to do that.
Listen,
you can't forget
talk back. You know,
that's right.
West Coast Joe.
Yeah, that's me.
You got two California guys and one Virginia guy here talking Jets, just as everybody would expect it.
What's going on, Tigo? Cameron, look at everybody who's here.
Hey, Cameron,
what is up?
It's good to see you. Well, see you on the screen anyway.
Sean McAteer is here. I don't know if you know this, but he is one of 3 McAteers that defend the Valley of Temecula. We don't have to worry about Temecula falling into the wrong hands. Not with a guy like Sean McAteer out there.
So wait. So it's the 3 McAteers.
Exactly. That's why I can
making sure. Okay, just making sure we all got that.
That's about
the new candy bar, the 3 McAteers.
That's about the extension of my literature and finding nicknames for people. I saw McAteer and thought, sounds like Musketeer. So there must be 2 more of him. And obviously, since he's from Temecula, that's the land that they defend.
I want to know if I wonder if the other 2 can grow a beard as well as he can, though. I mean, if they got the same beard action, that'd be pretty impressive.
I know.
You got ZZ Top going on.
He has a pretty cool beard. He does. But anyway, okay, so here we are. We dodged a bullet. Let's start by saying that. We absolutely dodged a very, 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 very bad bullet. Spirits were low. Man, I got to tell you, I was doing that watch party with Green Bean Friday night. And after Zach went down, it was like the most grueling 3 quarters I think I've ever done of a watch party. Having to smile and fake a smile and find positives while nervously searching social media and seeing all kinds of texts out there from these Twitter doctors that he's torn his ACL and he's out for a year, and they can tell by the way he went down, was not easy. But ever since then, the news has gotten better and better and better. It wasn't an ACL tear. It was a bone bruise and a torn meniscus. And they said 2 to 4 weeks. And then we had to have the fear of the microscopic surgery or whatever to see if they were going to find more complications, which they didn't. So there's a chance he can be ready for the opener. I'm not asking for them to rush that. Not when you have a guy like Joe Flacco. Not when Zach has a long future ahead of him. There's no reason to rush him back. There's no reason to push for that. And plus, as much as I wanted to see Zach Wilson play because I'm going to the opener, Joe Flacco in a revenge game has a nice ring to it. What do you think, Long Beach?
Well, first off, and again, salutes to everybody. Mike, Harlan in the chat, I see y'all. Daniel C as well, and just all the savages out there as well watching. Here's the thing, is that I think that, like you said, we really kind of shook away us possibly being in a bad situation. Because like you said, a lot of the ACL tears and all that stuff was being reported constantly by the doctors. I don't want to see Zach Wilson rush back at all. Until he is fully healthy and ready to go, I do not want to see him on the field, period. I know you said, you're looking at maybe week 2. I'm thinking week 3, week 4. That's honestly what I'm thinking. I do not, and I said this earlier, I don't want him touching a blade of grass on a football field trying to actively, work out there as a quarterback until that knee is fully ready to go. Joe Flacco, Mike White, we brought these guys in here for that reason, so that they could go and do what they need to do, right? Be good backup quarterbacks. That's what we brought him for. That's what we brought them both in here for. That's what Joe Douglas did this roster building for, so that if Zach Wilson went down or had to miss time, this is their time to shine. But until he's fully capable and ready, I don't want him out there. Don't rush him back. He's the future of our franchise. He's the face of our franchise right now. He's the guy that we were excited about coming into this year, seeing what he can give us. So let this guy heal up. Don't force him back too quickly, and let him, do what he's got to do.
Yep.
Yeah, no arguments from me at all. And based off what I'm seeing, I think there's a lot of people who don't even want Zach. They're probably disappointed that he's not out for the season. It's pretty unbelievable that some people are already quitting on him. But for me, we got the best case scenario that we could have. And even when we heard, they're still not out of the woods yet. It's like, we know it's a meniscus. We know that it's the bone bruise, but we're not going to really know until we look deep and see if there's any other additional damage. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what ligament damage are they going to find? And so when the news came back that it was basically clear and that we're expecting basically a couple of weeks, it's like, well, thank God the regular season doesn't start for another month. Am I echoing, by the way?
Yeah, we're getting a little bit of an echo.
Okay. I'm just going to change something really quick on here.
I'm not hearing it that bad, but I was worried it was me.
Okay.
I'm gonna shut my sound off and you talk.
Okay. Yep, I think that sounds a little bit better actually. So
yeah, there's no echo now.
See, it's always Jeremy, probably because he's not eating yet.
It's me.
Yeah, it might be coming. It might. Yeah, it's coming from the West Coast, not the East Coast. We've established that. Yeah. So you know what? There's no reason to be any less excited. This is still a very young, exciting team that is on the upswing. They still got a ton of talent. And you know what? At least we don't have, my gosh, at least we don't have Geno Smith as our backup like some teams do. We have some credible quarterbacks, in the background, considering that they're backups. And hey, Chris Streveler is on his way to being the next Kurt Warner, right? Maybe Chris Streveler will wind up being our number 2 before the year is over. That might be a little bit much. I'm not feeling Mike White really much at all. I was actually hoping we could trade him for something during the offseason. Otherwise, I expect to pretty much lose him as a free agent. But Streveler outplayed White in the preseason game from everything that you read and everything that you hear. So they've got the depth. I was thinking actually going into the season, I was open to the idea of only carrying 2 quarterbacks, but with this situation, you can't do that anymore. Now you need to carry 3 quarterbacks, and to me, there's really no getting around that now.
Yeah, I think that they have to. There shouldn't be any more talk of 2 quarterbacks, because if you put like White on the practice squad, first of all, you can only protect guys on the practice squad from getting plucked for like 4 weeks per play. Each player can only be protected for so long. And if you threw him on the practice squad and then he got plucked and Zach gets hurt, now you got Flacco and who? And I don't want to hear about the other quarterback, okay? Playing against 4th and 5th stringers that are going to be playing for Home Depot. I'm not saying that I don't appreciate what the guy did. I'm not nothing against the kid, Slytherin, whatever his name. I call him Slytherin, like Snape. I have nothing against the kid. He did a great job and gave us a good feeling of a win. It's amazing how the same fans that'll sit there and say Zach is a bust because he didn't do great his rookie year right?
Yeah.
And we'll ignore all the factors. We'll then deem somebody else a star or this really great quarterback because in the fourth quarter of a preseason game, they did something. I mean, it's absolutely like the world's gone nuts. I'm again, nothing bad about the kid. If he keeps doing it, put him on the practice squad. That's great. No one will even snatch him up. Maybe they develop him. Who knows? But we, I mean, we can't end up with him playing for us this season in the real season. The only way to truly protect Mike White is, I mean, I guess they could practice squad him for the first 4 games, but then after you're unable to protect him, you're going to have to move him into the 53.
Mm-hmm.
And even if they put him on the practice squad, I got to think somebody's going to claim him. I don't want to lose him for nothing.
Well, they could but they could protect him for 4 weeks on the practice squad where he can't be claimed.
I honestly have no issue with us going forward and keeping 3 on the roster. I really don't. I mean, I get it. People want to move on and stuff like that for, like you said as well, Wicker. But I wouldn't have a problem with having Joe Flacco and Mike White, on the roster because, hey, you never know. Let's say Joe Flacco goes down. I mean, or let's say he's not playing well and he falters. Then who else do you turn to? You just be stuck with him, Mike White, we saw him come in last season and provide a spark for our offense when Zach went down. He was the guy that really went in there and made sure that the ball got where it needed to go against the Bengals. He was the one out there doing the work. Like, yes, he did have a bad game against the Bills, but again, I think a lot of people are forgetting that the Bills are a top defense in this league. They're not like, it's not a cupcake anytime you go in there and you play them. So, yes, he did have a rough game, and again, he got moved on from. But again, he's a quality backup. We're not asking him to be a starter. But for a guy to be able to come in and show you something like that, I don't see why we can't keep these 2 guys on the roster. And when Zach comes back, we add him back into the fold and allow him to be the starter, which I'm sure we're going to be talking about stuff like that tonight because there's been a lot of different ideas and scenarios thrown around since he's gotten hurt. But I don't have any issues with keeping those 2 guys. I think having 2 quality backups, especially in this league where we're seeing already, backup quarterbacks are important, extremely important. We've seen teams lose their starters and just completely slide off of a cliff, right? Not be able to put together anything and their whole seasons just go into the trash can. But we've also seen teams turn around and be able to ride their backup quarterbacks to major success. We saw Philadelphia do it, right? Their starter went down. They continued on. Everybody thought their season was over. Their coach made an adjustment offensively, and they were able to just, ride that all the way into a Super Bowl W. So, I think we keep those 2 guys on the roster and just continue forward.
Yeah. Now, I'm not prepared to give my starting 53, Mike, but we could talk about later. We always do. We'll start talking about who we think is going to make the roster. But then what are the consequences of that? Then who has to get cut? Like one thing that's pretty obvious is that if you carry a fullback like Nick Bawden, if he makes the team, a lot of people want to carry 4 tight ends because, Cager looks really good. It's going to be really hard to have 4 tight ends and a fullback and then say that we're going to be able to keep 4 safeties and not just 3 like Samini was forecasting, which sounds crazy to me to only have 3 safeties when we went through 8 of them last year in the first 2 weeks. So it's pretty complicated. It's not so easy. Everybody wants everyone to stay, but the spots just are not there. No. And there's going to be some really difficult cuts.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm trying to think about some of the most difficult decisions because we want to keep 10 defensive linemen. I find it very hard to believe we're not going to have 10. So where are we cutting back? I mean, I felt we would have maybe 5 linebackers. I thought we'd be very low. Jeremy, if you have headphones, maybe that would help the echo thing Tigo suggested, because it seems like now that I'm talking, there's the echo. Guys, we apologize about this.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. I just don't have them with me, but I'm going to mute and let you talk, and I'll come back.
Okay. So, yeah, for me, I was actually thinking maybe we could get away with 5 linebackers, but now they signed Quan. So can you still go with only 5 linebackers? I mean, for me, if I had to pick a position where I think we have to go low, I really want to keep Nick Bawden. But at the same time, who are you keeping it? And I would keep just the 3 tight ends. I think you could keep Cager by sneaking him on the practice squad. I just don't know if he's going to get snatched up, but I don't want to lose Bawden. I like what he does on special teams. I like what he does for run blocking. But you did add Ty Conklin, who's one of the best run blocking tight ends out there. So is Bawden's position redundant now? And that's something I got to think of. I mean, if you have a position, a player who does a number of things, who does like one thing really well or 2 things really well, but now we brought some other players in who do those things even better, then all of a sudden, what's your real role if you can't do something better than anybody else on the team can? And that's what I really got to start to think about. Just because I liked how somebody played at the end of last year doesn't mean that they're the right fit for the 2022 Jets.
Yeah,
So,
listen.
yeah.
Yeah, listen, I think Nick Bawden is a good player, and having him here at fullback would be nice. I don't know if that actually happens because again, we have a defensive line full of beasts. I think that's going to be actually a spot where somebody or a couple guys aren't going to be able to make it, and it's going to be like, man, that's a good player. That's something with somebody we really like to keep, but we just can't. A guy like Huff, I think, is on the bubble because of that there at the defensive line spot, because we have so many guys, especially again with Michael Clemens playing the way that he's playing. He's pushing himself up into a role to definitely have significant impact within our rotation. But if we're sticking to the offense and looking at Bawden, I don't know if you keep him. I think we keep 3 tight ends. I think either you can move Cager, kind of, maybe you move him back to that wide receiver position, which he originally was, and bring him in as a wide receiver. But again, even that wide receiver position is after that 4th wide receiver spot, that 5th one, Denzel Mims is battling for that spot as well. You also got Jeff Smith battling for that spot too. So it depends on how many wide receivers we keep. But if it comes down to it, I could see them moving on from Nick Bawden and trying to, flesh things out between the tight end position. I don't think we'll keep 4 tight ends though, honestly. I think Uzama, Conklin, and Rucker are probably going to be the guys that we go with. I like Wesco a lot. He does give a bit on special teams. I like Yaboa. But with so many, only so many spots left and us being tight at other spots as well, especially again, if we're talking about keeping quite a bit of defensive linemen, some of those guys are going to have to be moved on from.
As much as I hate to do this, I'm going to have to go. I kind of share the same take as Tigo, which I hate because he's like the absolute worst. No, I'm just kidding. He's not. That's so bad. Tigo is we agree on this thing because the Jets and LaFleur like to have the 21 and 22 personnel be part of the offense, and Wesco is a complete bust. And when Nick Bawden came, our running game, when we ran those personnels with him in the backfield, really, really improved. So I just don't see him getting. I see him making the squad. I mean, they brought him in last year for a reason, and it worked. So it's hard to imagine them going against it. But then at the same time, and I know it was against backups, but Cager looked really good. But is he a guy that would survive the cut and make it onto our practice squad is the real question.
It is a good question. Actually, you mentioned Trevon Wesco. I got a comparison for you guys. Tell me if what you think about this. Trevon Wesco on offense is the Nathan Shepard is the Trevon Wesco of defense, and vice versa. They've been around since like the McCagnon era. No fan knows what they do well, but the coaches seem to love them, and we cannot get rid of them no matter what we try to do.
Yeah,
I feel like they're basically the same player, different positions.
So,
yeah.
I mean, also you can look at the situation too. There's a lot of things we can do, within our offense to kind of cover up. If we move on from Bawden, we've seen before that you can take a tight end and put it in a fullback position and make it work. Right? We've seen that. We've seen us come out in packages with the tight end there in the fullback position, and whether it be running or even coming out and play actions, all kinds of stuff. So, again, Bawden's a good guy. He's a good player, solid fullback, but there's so many different things that you can do within the offensive play calling and some of the personnel that you can use. Again, I wouldn't be surprised if we did move on from it.
Yeah, there was one comment here. I think it was Breece Hall does not need. Yeah, Bam Knight and Breece Hall don't need a fullback. Yeah, it was Snowball. I got to be honest. I think Breece Hall could really use one. As much as I like him, and I know, I'm excited to see what Breece Hall is going to do for this team. For the record, but if you give him the space, his patience and his vision are what is going to be his greatest attributes. I don't want to see him running into a line of scrimmage, because the offensive line can't get a push. Now, the offensive line should be good enough to be a very good run blocking offensive line. But if I could throw Nick Bawden in there and have him be what Kyle Juszczyk was for San Francisco, and what he still is, oh my gosh, give that to me. Because that will make all these that makes a good running back great, an average running back good. When you have that type of space. Look at Timmy Smith in the Super Bowl when Washington beat Denver. You could have driven a Mack truck through those holes that the Hogs were opening up against the Denver defensive line. And because of that, Timmy Smith had the day of his life. And we have so much more talent on offensive line, and I'm so excited to see how much Bam Knight is growing and that he is making an impact. As much as I'm sure, as good of a guy as I'm sure Tevin Coleman is, I don't want to see him make this roster. I really want Bam to beat him out and get that third running back spot if the coaches feel he's earned it. And he's going to have to earn it because they're going to want to keep Tevin. Bam's going to have to beat him out. I can't wait to watch what happens with that.
He's going to have to give them no choice. Like, he's going to have to continue to perform so well that you just can't justify it because you like someone. They're just going to have to say this guy is younger and could be a longer term guy that's on the team versus Tevon, who is probably in the, who's long in the tooth, to be honest. So, I mean, there's no way they're going to hold 4 running backs in my mind. I mean, maybe I don't know. I just can't.
And that's what I think makes it so tough. Chaos is you were kind of going in a direction, and I'm thinking is we're talking about keeping Nick Bawden, and it's like, okay, if you're keeping this guy, well, then where do you take from elsewhere? Where are you grabbing from to keep this guy on the roster? Because again, we're talking about Knight right now, who actually had a really good run against the Eagles, played well, right? And then it also gave us some stuff on special teams. I think he had like a 52-yard kick return too. So
that set up the game winner.
Yeah, that's something else. That's something else that's setting up, hey, I'm a guy that gives you value on 2 ends. Okay, well, keeping 4 running backs, you got Hall, you got Carter, you got Coleman, who I don't believe they're going to cut, right? He's a veteran guy, understands the scheme. He's a guy that they brought in. If you keep Knight, and then you look at the tight end position again with Uzama, Conklin, Ruckert, people want to keep Wesco. Some people want to keep Wesco and Yeboah. Okay, well, then what are we doing at wide receiver? Because Denzel Mims is fighting for a spot at 5. You got Jeff Smith, who's looked good. And we didn't even talk about, Lawrence Cager there at the tight end position. Even if you say, okay, let's switch him and make him a wide receiver. Well, there he's back to wide receiver position. He's there too. That's why I think it's tough to be like, hey, we're going to keep a fullback here when I can put a tight end in that spot. Or, again, there's other guys as well that are, pretty deserving of making the roster. So it's going to be tough. Cuts is going to be tough, especially as they continue to come. I mean, we've already moved on from a guy like Rashad Davis. Remember, we got him and people were like, man, he's a blazer. He's a guy that gives us something on special teams. Didn't necessarily have a great performance against the Eagles, and boom, he was gone. So, you know what I'm saying?
And I didn't expect Tim Ward to be gone already also. Pretty well-respected player. It's interesting how they have to do this. 90 to 85, 85 to 80, and 80 to 53. Yeah. It's a weird way that they do this. 5 and 27. It's just a very strange process in my mind. But I almost look at you have 4 spots between fullback and tight end. You could have 4 tight ends, or you could have 3 tight ends and a fullback. To me, that's pretty much the way that it has to be. But the more I'm thinking about this, the more I got to say, if one of our wide receivers goes down, it's bad. Now, I know we got tight ends, and yes, I'm happy about that. But at the end of the day, we have a very impressive top 4. After that, it is shaky. It is shaky. Even like an Irv Charles, an undrafted free agent that a lot of us were thinking about for what? Indiana of Pennsylvania, I believe, was the school. He has not looked good. He has not been standing out as of late. In fact, I think he did have a drop in the preseason game. Smith is Smith. We know what he is. Mims is incredibly up and down, to say the least. going into this preseason, I just did not have expectations for Denzel Mims. For me, it was whatever you can get from him is a bonus, but you cannot rely on him. He has to earn his way back. And, outside of that, I mean, who is there to really get excited about? Who are we bringing back? Yeah, let me see. Is Brashad Perriman going to get cut anytime soon? Anybody want to bring him back? I didn't think so. So, yeah, that wide receiver depth, to me, it is pretty top heavy. And that is a concern that I do have.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I look at Mims, and I know that he's a guy that has been fighting a lot in practice, and outside of practice too, to get on the field. He's definitely been having some scuffles out there during the practice. We've heard about that. He's a guy that is focused, a guy that is talking about, hey, he wants to be a guy that's going to make, he's gunning for the number one wide receiver spot. He said it, that's my goal. That's my only goal, and he's pushing. But, I really like his work ethic, really like what he's doing here. But that, illegal formation, that drop as well against the Eagles, the fact that he only had like 2 catches for 25 yards. He's got to do more, and he's got to push, because there's other guys. We just talked about it. Lawrence Cager looked really good against the Eagles. He looked really good. I don't remember how many catches he had, but I think he had like 40 yards. And for a man to be that big and be moving that fast, that guy's a weapon, especially when you look at a guy his size in the red zone. That's just easy money all day. Easy money all day. Okay. So he's got to put it together. Denzel Mims has got to put some things together to really solidify his spot on this roster. And I know that a lot of people are looking at it like, hey, we move on from him. Yeah, he's a second round pick though. All right. He's a second round pick. If this guy doesn't pan, it's like you gave up, some, and there was other guys there. I remember in that draft that we wanted. And Mims was one of the top targets for sure, but there were guys that we passed on, to take him. So it's like that would definitely sting a bit, especially if you look at that first draft from Joe Douglas, who was really starting to sting a bit more with, Becton dealing with the situations that he has. He's not playing. Then you got, Mims, and we can keep going on down that list. So, after our top guys, again, Elijah Moore, Corey Davis, Braxton Berrios, Garrett Wilson, who I love. Those after that 4, that 5th spot, and depending on how maybe we keep 6 or 7 wide receivers, who knows? But that 5th spot is really up for grabs. And I know we're talking about Mims, but a guy like Jeff Smith too. Jeff Smith played very well, and we've seen Jeff Smith go out there and be able to get open. And you put the ball in his hands. He's a solid, reliable set of hands. He's a guy that gets down. He's a guy that can really be moved around from the slot, both working all those positions there. So I really like Jeff Smith as well. He's a guy that can put on. So if Denzel Mims slips or falls to sleep, believe me, Jeff Smith will be there to grab that position.
I know that the penalty. So go ahead, Don.
I say you just got to limit Smith. You cannot overuse him like our coaching staff tended to overuse Ty Johnson. Johnson was okay, like in very limited movements. Like he was good, when he was running down the sideline, but the more he played, the more problems that we started to see. That's when we would see the drops. That's when that really became overexposed. And the thing with Lawrence Cager, I think we've all known that he is a very capable player, a very raw weapon, capable of doing a lot. His biggest issue has really been durability. That's really been his biggest problem. And also, you could also make the argument that he was thrust into the spotlight way sooner than he should have been. And that was mostly because of injuries and ineffectiveness with other wide receivers. The Jets really had no option but to play him like 2 years ago, I guess it was. So, but if they found a role for him, I mean, is it really insane to think that the Jets could – do you think there's any way they would take just 5 wide receivers? Is that crazy? I mean, if you're taking the best players, I mean, the running backs, the tight ends are looking better than the wide receivers, unless there's somebody they could claim off waivers.
Not after last year.
That's exactly what I was about to say.
Okay.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was going to say. When you look at our wide receiver position, it was decimated with injuries last year, and it cost us heavily. It cost Zach Wilson heavily. We saw it. I mean, I think they played all together, the starting wide receivers. I think all the snaps that they played total was the collective of like one game together healthy. There were so many guys missing constantly. Elijah Moore missed time. Corey Davis missed a lot of time last season. I mean, guys were all over the place. The only guy that stayed relatively healthy was Braxton Berrios. To be completely honest, he was the kind of like the hero, especially going down the stretch last season because there were so many guys missing. So I don't think personally believe that they will walk into next season with only 5 wide receivers. I don't think they'll do that.
Yeah. So just to shout out Jets Mess Mess, I didn't notice when this happened, but Jets Mess Mess is joins and become a Jets Chaos snacker. I appreciate you joining the program, becoming one of my snackers, which means he's already showing off his new ability to put emoticons on. I see my logo and pizza everywhere. Thank you so much. Chris Bradigan apparently kind of snuck in there. I didn't see that happen, but he has become a snacker. So I thank everybody who's joining and signing up and joining and becoming Jets Chaos snackers. I appreciate it. It only pops up like this on my screen when I show it, which is really odd and weird. But if you look in the chat on YouTube, you can see all the pizza and all of the logos that he's putting up. It's really cool to see. So thanks, guys. I appreciate the support. And believe it or not, Iowan is a snacker. Calling out another snacker in Bradigan. So, Bradigan. So anyway, yeah, look, I don't see how we could go just 5 wide receivers. I mean, I think it's weird to have to coach your team that way and make personnel decisions that way, but we got to be for real. We just get battered with injuries every year. I don't know if it's the turf that we play on in the MetLife. I can't, it's unexplainable, but we always have the injuries, right? Like it's hard. Who stayed healthy for all 17 games last year? A wide receiver. Mm-hmm. Elijah didn't. Corey Davis didn't.
Barrio Smith missed like a game or two at the end, didn't he?
I think he
didn't he miss a game or two right at the end of the season, as I recall.
I'm not sure.
Maybe Keelan Cole played the whole season. I think he might have been the only one. Yeah. I know. It feels like ancient history now thinking about Keelan Cole, doesn't it?
It really does. It feels like he's been gone a really long time. But except for a few great plays, which I loved, he was kind of invisible in a lot of games, though.
He was. I mean, I kept making the case. Of his targets, he was making catches about 35 to 40% of them, and that is just not enough. It just wasn't enough. I'm sorry. Right. Great personality. My favorite thing that he was doing was conducting the interviews on those Jets clips on their website when he would interview the players. I think he's got a future in media. I just didn't see a future in him as a wide receiver on the scene. So good luck in Vegas, Keelan. Good luck.
I didn't see Snowball. How you doing, Snowball? It's good to see you. So that being said, I think, look, so what I wanted to say before about Mims was, and I'm not defending the penalty, it's frustrating. There's no way it helped him. When you're fighting for a spot and everything, making the same mistake again that people, with the penalties was irritating and annoying. And then the drop pass. But then aside from that, he also had a couple of really good catches, and you saw the athletic ability. And I hear, maybe it was today or yesterday, he made an amazing play, like that everybody went crazy. So the kid has incredible athleticism. I mean, he's very gifted. He has a tremendous amount of potential in his athleticism. There's no way, or there's no rush to cut him. Like if he was going to get cut, it would be in the final cut. Like if that was to happen, if they couldn't trade him. So you're not going to see it happen in the next 5 or anything like that, which means he's going to have an opportunity, to redeem himself. So he'll have the game against Atlanta. We'll see what he can do. I think they should even play him in the third game. I mean, I would imagine. I think they should give him every opportunity. If you don't see him in the third game, if he has a decent second game and you don't see him in that third game, it probably means he's the number 5 receiver, and they're just playing all the guys that are left fighting for jobs. So it could mean that if you see him in the third game, he still hasn't secured his roster spot. So to me, that means he'd have to play really well.
Yeah, but here's my thing, and I hear, and again, we hear this every single year about him. I think that Mims is phenomenal. I do. I think he has great athletic ability, and we all know that. We saw the first year, right? With Gaze, it was amazing. He would go up and get footballs that we didn't think he should be coming down with at all. The catch radius seemed out of this world. Sam could just put it somewhere near him or around him or just somewhere in the area code that he was at, and he would he would get it. Somewhere in the zip code, he'd go get it. It was period. But here's the deal. He hasn't put it all together on the field. And I think that's the biggest problem. Is the practice stuff is wonderful. We hear about that constantly. But when those lights come on and he's got to go out there against the other team, he's got to start putting it together more on the field. Because again, we saw last season where this offense was decimated with injuries at wide receiver, and he still was not put out there. We watched DJ Montgomery, Tariq Black get out on that field, and these were guys that were all off the street. Get out on the field before Denzel Mims. Please do not talk to me about, yes, Denzel Mims had stuff going on in the offseason, but it was like food poisoning and something else, right? Or was it the
food poisoning? He might.
It was something
COVID?
else. Yeah, it was. I believe it was that too.
Yeah.
But here's the deal. Not having a full off season, look, I get it. But there were other guys as well that didn't have a full off season. Elijah Moore didn't have a full off season. Remember, he got injured and missed all of the preseason, I think. And so did Vera Tucker, right? 2 rookies came in. Let's stick with Elijah Moore because he plays the same position. He did not have the full off season. He's a rookie player coming into a brand new league with brand new teammates and a brand new scheme, and was way more successful than Denzel Mims was. Way more successful. So it's like you gotta put stuff together. You got to put stuff together, and he's not doing it. I want to see him be successful. He's 2nd round pick, but if he's not doing it, I'm sorry, somebody's going to snatch that spot.
He has to win the job.
Mm-hmm.
Like last year, no matter how bad he did, 2nd round pick, whatever, but this year, I think that we all agree on that. Like some people saying cut him now. Cutting him now doesn't make sense. It makes no sense because why would you cut him now? I mean, we have to forget that he was a 2nd round pick. He's just another guy in camp that has to win the spot.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I think frustrates us so much about Mims, I think one reason he gets as much wrath as he does from a lot of people is we see talent, we see raw tools, we see capability. We're just waiting, and when it's right there, when you have the God-given ability to be a really talented difference maker in the NFL, but it's not happening. What else is there to assume? But it's up here or here. And that is just something you can't coach. That is on the player and nobody else. I'm not questioning necessarily his desire or his want to. I don't know if maybe the Jets are just not the right situation considering the type of offense that they play. I mean, it could be a number of things. But we know if things project as they are, he is going to go down as a bust. And I don't like using that word easily, but compared to what he could have been, compared to what he is, Connor McDermott has more career touchdown receptions than Denzel Mims. That's a fact.
Yeah.
Okay. He had every chance last year, Mims did, like you said, to take that spot. There was no Jet skill position player who played all 17 games. I looked it up. None. None. The closest was Berrios had 16 and Ty Johnson played 16. Of course, we had to keep Ty Johnson around. He was somebody I wish would be deactivated a couple times. But, and especially, and we redid the whole tight end room, and we've redone the running back room. We have 2 new running backs, in my opinion, when you factor in Bam, because I think he is well on his way to making this roster. And then you throw in Garrett Wilson. His reps, he had a chance last year to get reps. It's going to be harder and harder and harder. They're basically telling him, the coaching staff is, kid, you have an opportunity. You're not going to have a lot of them. So when you have a chance to be on the field, you have to take advantage of it. And if he's already dropping balls in the preseason, which he was doing last year, both in practice and during games, it's not a good omen. It's just not a good omen because we're only seeing so much improvement. It seems stagnant. It feels like he is the same player. It's not as if we're even seeing spots where he is better in certain spots than in others. Like, it's like, well, this isn't going well, but look what he's doing over here. I could do that with, say, a Zach Wilson. I could show to his haters ways he is getting better. I can't do that with Denzel Mims, and that's what really frustrates me.
Yeah. And what's even more frustrating about Denzel Mims is that he has the physical body type, and if he puts it together, he literally could be our number 1 wide receiver, or he could challenge to be that. He could. He has all the physical tools and everything. If you look at what he could bring to the table, he is a guy that could absolutely challenge. But it's just we're still trying to see it all come together. And like they talked about last season, it just seems like when everybody was screaming for Denzel Mims to get out there on the field, and the coaches had to come out and say, listen, basically they told us, like, he don't know the playbook. So we're not going to put him out there until he knows all the positions, because if he doesn't, he's just going to be out there looking lost. So it's like just waiting for him to put everything together, whether it be the playbook or whatever it is. And again, with the illegal formation penalties and the false starts, like we saw last season as well, stuff like that, the penalties, he just got to put it all together. And it's upstairs. Can be completely honest. It could be more upstairs than anything else, but there's been some positive signs. I will say that, like you said, the practice stuff has been great. We've heard about him going out there and putting that together, but it's just time to start seeing it on the field. He's just got to cut the penalties down and just keep playing and play through it and really get it together. Because I'm telling you, if he does, we're going to be tough to cover. When you can go 5 wide and have legit threats where guys can really move and make plays at all 5 positions of wide receiver, it's going to be tough for defenses to face up with us.
Can you believe there's once such a thing as #free Mims?
Yep. Yeah, I remember.
That actually existed one time. You talk about, that's another thing that feels like absolute ancient freaking history. Is like when she's like, give Denzel a chance. That's, you know what? If things keep up this way, once the season starts, Denzel Mims will be one of the last things on our mind, because we'll be thinking about the players who are actually on the field.
Yeah. Well. If Mims, he has every opportunity right now. They gave him playing time in game 1. I guarantee you he'll have plenty of time. He'll have tons of playing time against Atlanta. He's in practice every day. They're watching him. They did say positive things about him as far as the playbook. They said he's learning the playbook. They said they said that he's working hard. They said they're happy with his progress and that he worked hard this offseason. So they like what he's doing. It's not only what we see in the preseason games. There's days and days of practice where they're seeing tons of things too that we don't see. So you can't just, we can't disregard that. It's not only those few reps he gets in a game. But I mean, the reality is, if he gets the spot, it means he earned it, because you could tell they're not playing around. They're not going to just make it the WO5 like last year, maybe like somebody gets that because of their draft pick status. I think we could be pretty confident in the fact that if he is the WR5, if he may, or that means he earned WR5. If he's WR6, it means he earned it. If he's cut, it means he couldn't earn a starting spot. And one thing I learned from the whole last year thing and fiasco is we don't see him. The coaches do. They know the reality. We don't. So we just have to go with what's very obvious. They're not stupid. They're not going to cut somebody who fits our system and is playing well. If they cut him, it's because he couldn't cut it. Pardon the pun. If he's on the team, I promise you that means they trust him, because again, we keep talking about it. Given the injury history, given the amount of guys we see go down, if he makes that team as the WR5, that means they trust him, because he might have to come into that game. Especially because they're talking about him being the backup to Corey Davis specifically.
Yep.
So if Corey Davis gets banged up, that means he's coming in for at least some plays. The other point I want to make that he doesn't get any credit for, but it is a real thing, if he can stop the penalties and stop dropping the ball, which was never a problem in his career. Like, if he could do all those things, one really good thing about him is he's a hell of a blocking wide receiver. Like, he's really, really good as far as being a blocker and doing that, and being in the right place. And you can't forget that about him, because if he puts the other stuff together, he still has that potential to be a very complete wide receiver. Because he has that part of his game down.
Which frustrates me even more. Because if he's such a good blocker, he should be on special teams. Shit.
Yeah.
Oops. Uh-oh. Hang on. I'll be back.
Okay.
Computer.
Oh, they did use him on special teams. He was playing special teams.
Yeah.
So I don't know that he did anything bad or anything good. There was one big run back against us where he was one of the guys that didn't make the tackle. But I don't know if it was his fault. he may have been the guy that gets sacrificed. His lane may have been covered, and somebody else may have been the person that was supposed to step up and and make the play. But yeah, so he's being given every opportunity. No one could say he's not been given the opportunity. So I'm good with whatever they decide. I'm gonna trust them.
Yeah, I mean he's been given chances, and like I said, there's other guys that are competing for those spots as well. Jess Smith is competing for that spot. Depending on what happens with Cager, maybe Cager's performance could get him that spot. So we'll see what happens going forward with it. But Mims has definitely got to keep working. Like I said, I want to see him grab that 5th wide receiver spot because he has immense talent. He has immense ability, but he's got to start capitalizing and kind of definitely cut down on the bonehead stuff, the bonehead penalties, stuff like that. It's costing us. And especially with him in the situation that he's in, he's got to, get it together.
Yep. So Captain K Techno, my friend, how are you, laddie? He is in Ireland. He might not physically be in Ireland right now. He travels sometimes. He's a roadie with a band, so sometimes he might be in a different spot in Europe. But he lives and he's from Ireland, and he loves Breece Hall, and I don't blame him. I love Breece Hall too, and he might end up being the biggest impact player in the class. It's not impossible, given the position. Right, if he's a dominant elite running back, that could have the biggest impact out of anybody. But that's what's so great about That's what's so great about this class. What's so great about this class is you could talk about Breece Hall and get super excited and the impact he can make on the team. But then you think, but Sauce Gardner, my God, he could be like shut down, corner that really and helps us against the run and really changes things. And then you think Garrett Wilson. Wow.
I mean, for me, it's Jermaine. I think the guy that has the most potential to have the biggest impact on this football team, of course, Sauce is definitely up there. But for me, it's Jermaine Johnson. If Jermaine Johnson can really put it together and have a really solid rookie season, the pass rush, especially in this passing league, boy, oh boy, are we going somewhere? Because you're going to have Carl Lawson on one side. You got Jermaine Johnson on the other side, and then you got Quinnen Williams, who we all hoping will wake up this season and really, turn into the guy that we thought that we were getting when we took him, 3rd overall, I believe it was. So, but Breece is good. He looks good, and he's running the ball hard. I think a lot of people are also sleeping on Michael Carter. A lot of people have started to just kind of forget about the guy. You know what I'm saying? I don't think you should forget about him because he's one heck of a running back, So, but with him and, Breece kind of going back and forth, being that 1-2 punch, it's going to be, this offense is looking up. It really is looking up. And I'm just, waiting to see what we do out there, especially with Flacco and especially when Zach is going to be able to come back. I can't wait to see what he's going to be able to do, when the lights are on in the big spots during the season.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's I'm excited to see him take that next step, and obviously we didn't get to see anything great in that first game. It was kind of rough before he got hurt, but he actually did make a couple of good passes that nobody talks about. It's not like he didn't. He made a couple of decent passes and everything, but the reality is if for those paying attention to practices and everything, he's been having days where he's nearly perfect, and having amazing practices, and everyone's saying the right things about him. So I think it's just a matter of time, and the injury is very frustrating. Mm-hmm. But we can't let that frustration, or at least the coaches better not let that frustration of wanting to get him in there rush him back too soon. It's not worth it. This kid's got a whole long career ahead of him. Like you were saying before, we got to make sure he's completely healthy. That's why we have a good backup quarterback in Flacco, so we don't have to rush him back.
Yeah.
I like to think we learned our lesson last year when he left and signed with Philadelphia. Then we had to trade just to get him back. Mm-hmm. Gave up a draft pick, and let's be honest, it never should have come to that. But to me, that just showed how little the coaching staff believed in Mike White. I know he got hurt, but they still felt the need to bring Flacco in before White even got hurt, as I recall. So once I saw that, it's like this coaching staff just looks at Mike White as a little temporary fix. So So yeah, I think we'll be looking for a new backup quarterback for next season, a new number 2 behind Mr. Wilson. Flacco's middle name is Vincent.
Do what you want with that information.
Is it like Vincent LaGuardia Gambini Flacco? I don't know. Not sure what that does for me.
Sean McAteer comes in and says, we have a lot of great rookies. The people around them have to play for them to succeed. Yeah, well, we definitely got the types of positions, running back, wide receiver, and then let's see, tight end with Ruckert, where the people around them have to play well. Sauce Gardner can't make an impact if the linebackers don't step up and the defensive line and figure out how to stop a screen pass. Because then they're not going to throw at him and not need to throw it at him. It won't be. What kind of impact will he have if the other team is able to just throw screen passes and run the ball effectively against us and score touchdowns that way? So it's true. Everybody has to step up. But one of the ways to make Sauce Gardner an impact player is by forcing the other team to have to throw to their wide receivers sometimes. And right now, like last year, the Jets didn't do that. The Jets didn't put the opposing team in the position where that was what they needed to do to win. They were able to run the ball, screen pass to, utilize the little ins and outs and everything. And it was horrendous at times. So
yeah,
that's got to get better this year.
Yeah,
and that's one reason we signed Quan. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest issues last season, and why I feel like we've really stepped up and been really improved this season. I think last season the biggest issue was we had no pass rush. We didn't have anybody that can consistently get to the quarterback unless we were sending blitzes, right? Carl Lawson went down during the offseason. We asked John Franklin Myers to step up and kind of be the guy that, would be the pass rusher. And he showed some flashes, but he was wildly inconsistent, especially during the later half of the season. He did, almost nothing really, on a game basis. There was some splash plays. I believe he had a really, did some things against the Texans, but it just wasn't enough. There wasn't enough consistency in his play. So when you look at us now this season, Carl Lawson's back. He's looking like the normal Carl Lawson, the Carl Lawson we expected, him to be when we first signed him. So we're excited about him coming into the season. Then you got, again, Jermaine Johnson. You got other guys added. Michael Clemens, who looks phenomenal as well. I think we're going to be rushing the passer effectively. And I think a lot of things that people aren't talking about as well when we talk about some of the moves we made this offseason was, I think this might be the first time since Sulla's been here that we have the tools to effectively run his defense. That defense is all about pressure. If you look at what they do in San Francisco, it's not really hard to figure out. You got Bosa, you got Warner, you got, a bunch of other guys as well in their front where they just put so much pressure on you that you make a mistake. If a quarterback has very little time to throw the football, more than likely he's going to make a mistake because you're trying to get out of their hands because you don't want to get hit and you just trying to move the change as much as possible. So that will lead to what? Interceptions. That'll lead to turnovers. That'll lead to all those things. Well, if you look at us last year, you faced the New York Jets. You had 40 years to throw the ball. I mean, Jeremy, you could have dropped back. You'd still be waiting right now.
One Mississippi, two Mississippi, three.
You could have dropped.
It was like when I played
season.
in Brooklyn.
Yeah, you could have dropped back last season. You'll still be, to this day, you'll still be able to sit back there comfortably in the pocket and look for your wide receivers. Anybody could have did that. That's literally what everybody did to us last season because we could not get to the quarterback whatsoever. So I think that's changed this upcoming season. Again, we have increased pass rush. It's much better. And I think that's going to be a huge difference in the way that our defense is going to look this season. Because, again, you look at San Francisco, they get in your face immediately. Their secondary is not like star-studded. They don't have a Jalen Ramsey. They don't have, all these guys. They have a solid secondary. Don't get it confused. But they don't have, like, these pop-out stars and a ton of, all-pro guys and a ton of pro bowlers in that second. No. But they got some guys up front that will destroy you. Absolutely. Bosa, I just talked about it. Warner, all those guys, they will destroy you. And the second that they can wreak havoc on you, you either you either throwing incompletes, interceptions, or you just trying to survive. And that's how this defense is. It's predicated on pressure and complete disruption.
Yep.
And we took one of those defensive players this season. We took Solomon Thomas. We signed Quan Alexander. One thing that surprised me about the last off season is I really thought we were going to bring in a couple of 49ers, some players who Robert Saleh knew, and help implement what he wanted to implement. And that didn't really happen. I mean, we thought we might get Kyle Juszczyk, Kendrick Bourne, all these different guys. And it's like the only guy we got was like Ronald Blair, who missed the first half of the season anyway, who's just another guy. Now we have some players who know him, not just from San Francisco, but Seattle as well. Saleh knew DJ Reed a little bit as a Seahawk. Saleh didn't really believe in DJ, and DJ proved him wrong. And he told me, I'm so happy. Marcel Harris as well. Mm-hmm. And I am so glad that GVH brought this up, because this is something I was actually thinking about the last 5 minutes, because I feel as though DQ Thomas, nobody's mentioned him. I don't know how to really feel about it. I feel like nobody's mentioned that he's done anything wrong or that he's done really well. It's like, if you didn't tell me, I wouldn't even known he was in Jets training camp. So, Joe, have you guys heard anything? Any reports?
I've heard nothing. I mean, I certainly didn't see him in the game. I didn't call his name once during that watch party. Every guy who made a tackle, we see the number, and if we didn't know the number, I was looking it up, and I did not see his number or his name at all the entire night. So maybe we're going to see him against Atlanta, or maybe I would imagine, is he hurt? I have no idea. I haven't heard a thing about him.
It's crazy. I feel like he's like the one guy in camp that we've talked about, but it's like we're the only ones, like the content creators, we're the only ones who really even talk about him. I don't think beat writers have been talking about him whatsoever. The Jets website, they don't talk about him either. So, let's see what happens in these last two preseason games. Let's see if he not only makes plays, but if he could just get some playing time. Because it seems like that's not even a guarantee for him. And this is linebacker. This isn't defensive line where we're completely loaded. There's opportunities to make plays at linebacker. So, but good question, GVH. Good question.
Yeah, that happens sometimes too, where certain segments of the fan base or whatever fall in love with a guy that has a great story, or a guy that's just kind of nobody's talking about or anything like that, but. Again, with them bringing in Quan Alexander, with all the issues that, we've had at backer, we all had big questions about the linebacker position, especially coming into this upcoming season. There was a lot of questions about Hamza Nasruddin, Jamin Sherwood, too, how they could come back. They're out there kind of moving around and stuff like that, trying to do their thing now and really get their feet underneath them again, coming off those injuries that they had last season. So we'll see how things shake out, because this linebacker position, especially as we continue to move forward, is definitely going to have to be addressed in the future. CJ Mosley is up in age, and I think he's making $18.5 million next season. We got to find an answer at, inside linebacker. Then again, Quan Alexander, going forward, we got to figure out some things. And if Jamin Sherwood or Hamza Nasruddin are the guys, that'd be wonderful. But we got to see what we can get out of them this season, because they got hurt in their rookie season. So it's like just trying to figure out who's going to fill these positions, and be consistent there for years to come.
I feel they're completely getting Sherwood ready to take over Mosley's job for next season. I think that is their idea. That's their vision. That's what they want to do. The fact that he had the green dot on his helmet at some point just shows that they believe in him as a leader, that he has good vision, and he really understands the game. I really think Sherwood is the guy they're banking on. Nasruddin, I could look at him as being a surprise cut with the addition of Quan. I can see that being a surprise cut. I can see it happening.
I will say this. I think Sherwood on Friday was the best I've seen him. Like of everything I've heard, read, what saw him in the regular season last year, and this Friday night, I saw some good things from him. I liked what I saw. There was some times where I was surprised. I was like, "Oh, wow, it's Sherwood!" Like, he did some really good things. I'm really excited about it. Like, it looks like he really did progress, and I'm surprised because of the injury and everything. I didn't even know if he'd be able. Everybody worried it will Lawson ever be the same because of his Achilles, but everybody just went on saying, "Yeah, Sherwood will be back next year." They believe in him. No one talked about the fact, is the kid going to be able to heal and come back and be the same guy? But it was very encouraging to watch him on Friday night. He looked really good. He was really all over, like pursuing really well and in the right place. I liked what I saw from him. So, yeah.
And keep in mind, Lawson started preseason on the PUP list. Didn't last long, but he did start on the PUP list. Sherwood did not.
Right.
Which means something. And we all know how hard Lawson worked. I don't know if I've seen a harder working athlete in my life than Carl Lawson. I mean, for the access that we've had. I mean, he is a beast. Even Brock Lesnar would say, I got nothing on this guy. That's a real beast right there. It's Carl Lawson. Okay.
He's a monster.
Mm-hmm. And I felt if anybody was going to come back from an Achilles injury, it was going to be Carl Lawson. And I think that we are feeling very positive that that is going to happen. Sherwood, we don't know what kind of guy he is. I can't really call like seeing him ever really profiled or being interviewed or anything like that. I feel like he's just a guy at this point, but we don't really know him. And hopefully this season he is one of those guys that when you have a team that really breaks out, you need, and when a team, the expectations are super low and then they surprise you, you're going to have a couple of players that nobody saw coming and they come out of nowhere. I think Sherwood could be that type of a player for the Jets. Not saying he's going to be like a Pro Bowler, but I think he could be a guy who can make some big plays and the fans are really going to start to embrace him.
I think it could be. They said that, Osala wanted him to get bigger and saw potential in him and said, he'll put on some muscle and size. And he did. I did hear that he has put on muscle and some size. So I'm excited about him. I want to thank Jets New York 102 for the super chat. Your message is all electric, no break. And you know what? Hopefully, there's a possibility that this dynasty that we're building, this thing that we're building, might lead to something great and last long enough to see a world that's going to be more normal to say all electric, no break, because a lot of us won't be using gas as much, especially the state I live in and Long Beach lives in. By 2035, which is still 13 years away, but wouldn't it be great if we had a 20-year run or a 15-year run? Maybe it'll be true because we're going to only be selling electric cars in California. I don't know if the rest of the country is going to be going along with that, but California seems to be. So it might be the more normal thing to say, all electric, no break.
Man, am I going to have to drive a Prius to get to the Jets Super Bowl parade? Is that what you're telling me right now?
I don't know. I think that, I don't know if you've ever driven an electric car. They're kind of fun. I will say that. They're fun. They're like, because I grew up, my dad grew up in Coney Island, so I went to Coney Island a lot, go-karts and things like that. And they always were more fun to drive. But the one I drove was really fast and really cool and fun to drive. But anyway, that's just that. And I'm making a lot of that super chat. But, when I get a super chat, I got to give it as much attention and analysis as possible. And that's my analysis. There's going to be a day in this world when it's more normal to say all electric, no gas. No brakes, because, it's going to be one of those things where we're going to be telling, young people when we're old, very, very old. Yeah, we used to have to pump gas in our cars. Like that's what it looks like is going to happen in our world. So, you'll get used to it.
We don't need to go there.
You'll get used to it, Adam. You'll get used to it.
Yeah, we'll probably have to. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. I don't think we have a choice. This is an interesting.
Okay, Dark Soldier, over under 40 total team sacks. Okay, so I have pulled out the list of team stats for team sacks last season. So last year, I'm counting 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 14 teams had more than 40 sacks. So 40 sacks basically puts you right in the middle of the league. The Jets, shockingly, were not one of those teams. Last year, the Jets had 33 sacks, which is not even 2 per game.
Abysmal.
So we're just asking for 7 more per game, half a sack more per game. To me, that is absolutely something that is possible. I think 45 sacks a game is possible. Pittsburgh had the most last year. They had 55, most of which were thanks to one player. And Minnesota was second with 51. I would not have guessed Minnesota was second, but they were. I think 45 sacks would be what I'm shooting to see the Jets get this season. That's basically
Yeah,
more than 2.5 a game. So,
yeah. How about you, Long Beach?
are you muted,
I think you're muted or we lost you.
Joe?
Joey.
LBJ still muted.
Say it ain't so, Joe.
Uh-oh. It's that SoCal thing, man. They must he has to convert to electric or something.
Well, we're having they like random blackouts or like because of the power with the air conditioning.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I don't know what happened. I was talking. I didn't feel like I was muted as at all.
I figured you were running on gas and you had to switch to electric.
I was like, I was talking. I could, but yeah. So the thing is, yeah, I think we'll definitely have over 40 sacks. I think we'll absolutely have over 40 sacks. I don't think that because I think 40 by itself is like 2 a game, especially if we're talking about our pass rush becoming what we all think it's going to be. So many guys along this defensive line being able to, do their business. I think that, we'll be fine. I think we'll have over 40 sacks.
Yeah, I think that the fact that what Adam just said, the fact that we only need a half more per game,
mm-hmm.
and we're adding Carl Lawson, and this is for Tico, Michael Clemens, Jacob Martin, JJ,
and for Tico, Marcel Harris. We gotta throw him
Marcel
in.
Harris. But even Quincy gets some sacks, and he might get, he got a few last year. He might get a little bit more than he did because now it's his second year in the system. So Quincy Williams, I said Adams again, is always put in the position to. He seems to be the guy that they send after the quarterback. Maybe he's got the most speed. I don't know. But he gets opportunities to get sacks. And I think Quinnen Williams is going to get more sacks this year. I think he might lead the team or hit double digits, which is amazing for an interior defensive lineman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially when, again, with the I think he's a guy that's going to definitely benefit from the added pass rush. Now you can no longer double team him, like it used to be back in, last year or the years before that, where he's kind of the only guy on the line where you need to really ID in and key on. So he's going to have these one-on-ones. And I think that's going to be big for us as well, because we get to finally figure out what he is, right? At maximum capacity, who is Quinnen Williams? Who is he? Is he the guy that's going to be able to get after pass rusher? Is he a guy that's going to cause disruption? For me, I know people talk about the sack numbers, him getting double-digit sacks. I don't know if he'll necessarily do that because I don't think that that's the type of player he is. But I do think for him, the major thing that's going to tip the scale on whether we can move forward with him or not, for me, is going to be what kind of disruption he causes. I want to see him get in the backfield and blow up running plays. That's what I want to see. I want to see tackles for loss. I want to see pressures. I want to see hurries. I want to see him take centers and put them in the laps of their, quarterbacks. That's what I want to see out of him. If he doesn't get double-digit sacks, I'm not going to be, worried about that situation. But he's definitely got to start causing disruption and havoc.
Good night, Sean. Good night, Sean McAteer. Just I wanted to throw that in before we go. Did you have anything to add to that, Adam?
I feel like this is the Barry Gibb talk show. No, I don't.
Talking Jets with Tigo, he makes a really good point. Guys, if you go to JetsJoint.com, that's JetsJoint.com, you will find Jets articles. Tigo just posted, I think, his first one, and it is about Q, and I think that's Quinnen Williams is what he's trying to say. And I actually just wrote an article about Michael Clemens. So we are both contributing writers for JetsJoint, which is an affiliate of, or it's the Jets portion of Stadium Rant. So we are both now published writers, which I have to laugh when I say it out loud. So check it out. Go to JetsJoint.com. Not right now because you're watching the show, but when you get a chance, go to JetsJoint.com and check out our articles. I also put them on my community page. At least I put mine. I'll put Tigo's if he sends me the link or he wants me to. And he has community pages too. So you could check my community page on YouTube and see links to JetsJoint.com, or when I add it to the description, you could look there as well. So sorry, guys. That was a little promo break for myself and for Tigo.
Okay, halftime's over, and now let's start the third quarter.
Exactly. Let's see.
While we're doing
Tigo's
that, Mets are driving me crazy. 9-7, bottom of the ninth. This is torture.
I can't believe how ridiculous
Just torture.
They have so much trouble beating this team. Like the teams.
And my father grew up. My father's a Braves fan, despite growing up in Brooklyn. So for me, it gets extra personal. And the fact that this is happening all over again. Okay, 2 outs, up 2, runner on first. So the thing is, they used. I'll keep this quick, but they used Edwin Diaz in the 8th inning. When they're up 1 run, it worked, and then they score more runs. Now Atlanta's scoring more again. So yeah. Right. Okay, so just had to get that out. I didn't know Tigo was a Mets fan. I never knew that. Okay, I really didn't know he was, but okay.
It's actually unbelievable. How stressful they can make it, man. It's like, being a Jets, Mets, Knicks, Rangers fan. Man, I've had a hard life.
Me too, man. And we know all. Yeah, and LBJ, you're a Lakers fan, I believe.
I'm yes, huge Lakers fan. Yep. Yeah, I've been living good for a long time. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
As long as you got one team, so you got
it's
the
been
Yankees
wonderful.
You got the Yankees of basketball, except they won recently.
Yeah, listen, it's been a wonderful time. Again, I was a Lakers fan though when we weren't very good at all. I love the Lakers my whole life. So like Cedric Caballas and Vlade and Eddie Jones, Nick Van Axel, all those guys. I've been a Laker fan my whole life. So I remember the years where there was struggle. But you know what? We eating good now, baby. We eating good. So I feel wonderful. I feel wonderful. I know that there's a bunch of Lakers haters out there. Salutes and respect to you. It feels good sitting there watching the championships continue to stack and just having a good time. Life is great.
And you're good with giving the other LBJ 2 years for $1 billion a year. I literally just thought of that. LBJ, you're LBJ, and he's LBJ.
Yeah, listen, you gotta look. You gotta pay the cost to be the boss. Okay, you wanna keep a guy around that has done some things for the franchise. You got to do what you got to do. Hopefully we'll be able to attract more talent to really get us to where we need to go. Because there are some things we got to clean up. I don't know what we're going to do with Russ. We'll see what happens going forward with that. But if AD can come back, put together things that we need him to put together and stay healthy, we might be continuing to eat the way we've been eating. My cup runneth over.
Maybe he needs a power forward. We'll trade you back Julius Randle. We're open to that.
Yeah, I'm good. Y'all can keep that.
Game over. Okay. Yeah.
Wait a second.
Throw down in A-Town. We win. Okay.
Wasn't Julius Randle good for us 2 years ago, and then he wasn't good last year?
He was good during the COVID year when nobody was in the building. Then he got exposed in the Hawks series, and then his attitude. Well, his attitude was so bad he could have been a Brooklyn Net.
Wow.
Yeah. Ooh, I went there.
Knicks can't get a break. My God.
That is like, forget that. I got no issue with the Lakers. I just want to see the Nets continue to just implode. Because they're like mercenaries. Like they just were selling their souls for a championship, and look what's happening. Oh, I love the drama that they get. But yes, no championship since 1994 in anything for me. We haven't even gotten past Game 5 in a series. 2 Stanley Cup Finals, 2 World Series, Knicks in '99. We can't even get past Game 5. We lose 4-1 every freaking series when we get to a final. So, hi Nick. Yes, Nets jokes. There's one Net fan in every crowd, and it's usually Nick. Okay.
Oh man! So we had a comment about Clemens. We talked about that before, but he was in. I didn't get to see it. So we were happy with the way Clemens looked in that preseason game. There's certain guys you don't hear a lot about from just practice. When you're hearing about practice, you don't hear anything. So that's one of the exciting things about the preseason games, because the media can't cover everyone. Is that you get to see it for yourself, and you get to see some things, and you get to judge. And there was no question, even before I saw the number of 7 pressure, it didn't even matter when we were watching that game. You saw, because I don't know the numbers right away. As soon as you saw it, like I think it was 70. I think he was wearing 72. Makes a play, and then you say, "Oh, that's Michael Clemens," and then you can't help but notice it. But for the next couple of drives on defense, he was everywhere.
Yeah,
And it was great to see. And I don't care what people say about he was playing against backups. The hustle, the pursuit, the explosiveness, the speed, everything about him was fun to watch. And I would love to see him get an opportunity to play, like to start a game against at least, even if the other team doesn't start all their ones, but against some ones and twos, just to see what it looks like, at that level.
Yeah. I thought he looked phenomenal. And I get the whole, people talk about the back, and that's wonderful, right? But this guy was everywhere, and he was pushing the pocket like crazy. Like you said, he was just all over the place, and he seemed to constantly be either around the quarterback or just, providing that pressure. I really like what I saw out of him, really like what he brought to the table in that preseason game. And I talked about it earlier. He's a guy that's really pushing to make more of an impact within that rotation. And this just does nothing but bode well for the New York Jets. Here's another guy that we can throw into that rotation. And when he comes in, you're going to have to worry about him in the pass rush as well. That's how you win in this league. Waves of pass rushers. We've seen teams, the Giants did it years ago, where they would just send waves of guys at you, just waves. And their rotation was so solid that once one guy went out, didn't matter. They brought another guy in. He was fresh, and he would be after you. So I really like what Clemens brought to the table. But this is a guy that we've been excited since we drafted him, because this is what it was talked about. If he didn't have all those, off the field stuff, or, the kind of things that was going on, some character questions and stuff like that, a lot of people saying he would have went way higher than what he did. So it's exciting to see this kid really go out there and put on. I want to just see him. I would like to see him just continue to do that consistently.
Which is why probably my favorite part of Jeremy's draft video is Michael Clemens. Never heard of this guy. Well, don't worry about it. None of us had. The last thing that we were thinking about was a pass rusher in the 4th round.
I put it in my article. I said not only were we surprised about the position, but we had done so many mocks. We knew tons of names on the board still. I expected it to still be a name that we knew. And so that's made it so weird, because it was like Michael Clemens, defensive end. And I'm like, what? Like, who the hell is that?
But we were even saying before the draft, we said, look, we knew the guys that they took in offense in 2021. But then when it got to the defensive part of the draft, how many of us knew who Jamin Sherwood was, who Hazram Nasruddin? How many of us knew there was a second Michael Carter out there? It's not something that we really knew about. I said, Joe is going to take 1 or 2 players who we don't know, but because we are starting to get a good feel for what his drafting is like, we're going to have a good feeling about it. And it completely turned out to be Michael Clemens. All it took was hearing one interview from him. And seriously, he should have banners being hung up for him. He should have his own section in MetLife Stadium on opening day on 9/11. It's going to be like the Clemens camp or something like that. They'll be, on the scoreboard every time he makes a play, a random Clemens fact will be there, like it's Chuck Norris or something like that. It's going to be perfect. They should, they should give away. The Jets want to do their giveaways. Give away the Michael Clemens daily calendar. Each day, a new Michael Clemens quote, right? A new Michael Clemens fact. You can come up with 365. Shoot, come up with 366 for a leap year. Piece of cake. We'll contribute. All they have to do is watch our shows. We've already gone through about 500 of them.
I will say that this year, what made this draft interesting is Clemens was the only guy I didn't know.
Yeah, same.
Because Max Mitchell, we mocked him a few times. There were times where we mocked Mitchell, and we all mentioned, like, oh, he's decent, he's good. Like he might be, he's a good guy. Like, I think we mocked him more in the 5th round.
Yes.
Like a little bit later, we would mock him. So when they took him, I was a little surprised because it was the 4th round. But at the same time, I wasn't surprised because it was already going a weird way. It already felt like a lot of the people we thought were going to slip didn't slip. Like we thought Cole Strange might be available, in the 5th round, and like with one of our later picks, if we didn't trade it, and then he ended up going in the 1st round. So, it's not shocking ever, but Mitchell was a name at least I knew. As soon as they said Max Mitchell, like I knew that's an offensive tackle. That's a guy, like we read it. We talked about him a little. Some people like him. I knew that Tigo really liked him. But Clemens was the only name this year. It was probably the first year I could say that we ever had a draft where there was only one name where I did not know.
Agreed. Yeah,
And
same.
you know what I mean? And I think it's because I did about 350 mock drafts on stream.
I lost count at 263, but doing the ones with Green Bean, every week we did about 14 to 15 drafts, and it was funny. Not one time did we mock Breece Hall. Not one time do we mock Garrett Wilson to the Jets. And that's amazing to me that we were going through all these guys, but we never mocked those two guys to the Jets.
I just want to say, in some of my mocks, I did take Breece Hall, and I got nothing but criticism for it. Like, people were yelling at me in the chat. Why would we take a running back? It's not going to happen. I took so much abuse, and I was like, and I didn't do it every time. Like, but I was saying, but when I didn't, I'd say, man, it's so tempting to take Breece Hall. Like, I was shaking my head. I go, man, why can't we take a running back? Like you could, and obviously it's in the tapes if you watch some of my old mock drafts. But like, but people.
And were you doing this like at 38? Were you doing this with like the second round?
No, what I was doing is I was doing it when I was trading down,
trading down,
10, and I called it a luxury pick. Like, so every time I added a third, second round pick, I would take Breece Hall. And I would argue with people in the chat saying it's a luxury pick. We didn't even have the pick. We traded down in the first round. We got the guy we wanted anyway. Maybe it was like Nakobe Dean or something. And I said, and now we get to just take Breece Hall. Why can't we take a great running back? I didn't do it a lot, but like, if you look through all my, who has time to do that? But if you fast forward, I don't look through all my drafts, or you go to the end of the streams where we post up the results, you'll see in times that I traded down, and we had multiple second-round picks, like 3 or 4 second-round picks. I would take Breece Hall. That was what I was doing. I was taking Breece Hall with that extra pick.
The luxury pick.
Yeah. Well, I think it was Jets X Factor, or it was Matt O'Leary who said that. I think first, the first person that ever put that in my head. He goes, I said like a year and a half ago, I said, do you think we'll take a running back in the first round, like Etienne or something? And he goes, no. And he goes, running back is a luxury pick. We're far from being a team that gets to make a luxury pick.
Yeah. And here I am. And here I am in fantasy. I've got a. You'll see why I'm bringing this up, but with the Virginia Jets fans, we've got a fantasy draft in a week and a half, and we've got a 16-team league. I've never done a league this large before. But I'm thinking, I've got to go pretty deep here. I got to find some, not just sleepers, but I'm like Rip Van Winklers, guys who are just like way at the bottom. I got to really scrape. I'm like, what round could I take Kyle Phillips for wide receiver? All I can think about is, what can I take Kyle Phillips? I don't know if he's going to do anything this season, but I got to admit, I am very tempting to go back, going back to all the Rusty's Diamonds and see if I can and grab Kyle Phillips from Tennessee now. So. Hey, Ryan Jet, good luck with your draft. Hope you knock it out. Please don't take Brady. Thank you. Okay.
I'm in a
don't draft Tom Brady.
I'm in a slow draft myself, and it's really annoying because a slow draft is you get like a day to pick, but no one actually does that, right? It just means during the day you check your notifications, you make your pick, and it takes a few days, so nobody has to be ready at the same time. But we got this one guy every time it comes to him who takes 18 hours to make his pick. It is absolutely the most frustrating thing in the world.
How hard can it be?
Yeah, that sounds crazy.
Oh, it's moving again. I just checked because I don't want to be the guy holding everybody up. But just to tell you guys,
is this a fantasy draft or are you playing Words with Friends?
No, this is a fantasy draft. Let me tell you what's going on right now. I got it.
That's we can't wait to hear. This is what the chat's here for.
This is Cravat's team. I picked 11th out of 12 teams, so I'm pretty proud of this team. Proud of this team. So far, this is who I got, and we're like 10, 11 rounds in. Mm-hmm. I got Jamar Chase. I picked him at 11. Devontae Adams. Javonte Williams at running back from Denver. Breece Hall from the Jets. Jerry Jeudy from Denver, wide receiver. Aaron Rodgers is my quarterback. Juju Smith, who just went to Kansas City. I took DeAndre Hopkins because I thought I had a really good team going. I said, I'm going to make the playoffs, and then whatever. We're going to get to the middle of the season. DeAndre is going to come back, and then my team's going to be dominant.
Fourth wide receiver. Got it.
Yeah, and then I got Pat Freiermuth as my tight end. I got Drake London as another one. Yep. I got Drake London as another wide receiver. I got Michael Carter so I can handcuff Breece Hall in case he gets hurt. Or I could just play them both on when the bye week comes for what's his name, Devontae, and then I got the Baltimore Ravens defense. So now I'm waiting for it to come back to me so I can take a backup quarterback. I might take Trevor Lawrence.
Okay, so your running backs are Javonte, Brees, and Michael Carter.
Yes.
Ooh, okay, I just hope you don't get an injury.
Well, what I'm hoping is that if that I'm going to hit hard on wide receiver, like I'm going to hit really well. I'm going to hit really well at wide receiver and have too many. Like Hopkins is going to come onto the team, and then I'm going to be overloaded with wide receiver, and I just make a trade with somebody who's desperate for wide receiver.
Tigo said, "Is London out for the season?" The only thing that we know is he's not available during practices this week against the Jets because they're doing the Jets and Falcons have the joint practice.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they said they expect him to be fine.
Yeah, but there's no report about him being out for the season. Nothing like that at all.
So, every report says they expect him to be fine, and some even say it's a precaution.
Yeah, Jeremy, I got to be honest. I think you're going to need one more running back. I really do.
No, I know. That's what I'm looking for, but there's no one right now. So, but I've been in this situation before. I mean, when you're in a 12-team league, you have to compromise. Sometimes you have to compromise position. But here, just to make it a little bit more understandable, why I went heavy on wide receiver in this league, it's a full point per reception. So that's it's not a half point; it's a full point per reception. So you got so like wide receivers are extremely valuable in leagues like that.
Gotcha. Yeah, because the 16-team league we're doing is PPR, and I'm not used to doing PPR as much. So that's something I got to keep in mind.
Yeah.
That makes it tough to draft a Jet because we really don't know where the majority of the targets are going to be, or if they're going to be spread around. Yeah. If you're doing PPR, that's a good question. If you're in a PPR league, who's the first Jet you want to take? Is it Brees Hall? Is that where you want to go?
Because I think he's going to catch. Yes, because they're lining him up in the slot. I think Brees Hall's going to catch a lot of passes. I think he's going to look. I mean, I took Brees Hall because he was the running backs. There's not a lot of good ones. They go very fast. I meant to get. There was another running back who I didn't want to take Michael Carter because of what Nick is saying in the chat. But there was no one by the time it got to me. Like I waited one round too long to get the third running back, and there was just nobody. So it was just Hall was like Michael Carter was my only option. So like at that point, Michael Carter was the only guy I can grab. So
yeah, I think Michael Carter is also a guy I think we utilize coming out that backfield too. He's a guy that could end up really look. I understand people love Brees, and I do as well, but I just think a lot of people are kind of sleeping on Carter.
I like him as that third.
And another guy I think that can have quite a bit of catches in this upcoming season, Corey Davis. I know a lot of people are not thinking about him at all anymore because he did get injured. But if you go back and you look at our offense last season, it was get Corey Davis the football immediately, early and often, and the offense would kind of start through him. That's what it was. Zach Wilson was constantly feeding Corey Davis, and the game plan, the play calls was get Corey Davis the ball and let's move. So that might be something that we end up doing, this season a bit as well, even with the well spread around. I do think it's going to be spread around. The ball is going to be spread around quite a bit more because there's, so many weapons we have now here, especially with the tight end position being as upgraded as it is now. So, but I think that Corey Davis is a guy that could definitely be putting on this upcoming season.
I agree. I don't think he'll have the most catches, but I could see him finishing first or second on the team in touchdowns.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he'll have, and I think Michael Carter, to me, I could see him settling into that third down role because he's very slippery. He always gets those extra yards. He knows how to fall forward. And put it this way, I would want Michael Carter. I would trust Michael Carter on like a 3rd and 5 to figure out a way to get me that first down. If that's what he becomes, if that becomes his career for 5 to 10 years, nothing wrong with that.
I don't know. A lot of people have talked about him his role kind of being reduced to being a 3rd down role, and I don't necessarily agree with that because if you look at what he did last season, I'm talking about he was very good. If you go back and let's say if you go back and watch that game against the Bengals when our offense really took off, right? Because it was not so good with Wilson earlier in the year. Wilson went down. That's when Mike White came in. If you watch that game, the single reason why we won that game was because of Michael Carter. He was the guy that caught the balls in space and was taking off. He was the guy that was running in for touchdowns. It was him. As a matter of fact, for a couple of weeks after that, he was really, before Elijah Moore really started to get going, he was like our sole offensive playmaker for a couple games until he ended up getting hurt and going down. So I think a lot of people are really sleeping on Michael Carter. I think that he's going to be utilized a bit more than people think. But I do think, again, there's going to be a 1-2 punch. Brees is definitely going to get his carries, but Michael I think is definitely going to be still a solid part of this offense, especially if we're talking about the running game. Because, again, last year we couldn't even block. Like, we had Greg Van Roten. We had issues on our offensive line. There were times when he was getting 2-3 yard gains when he should easily have gotten a 1 or 2 yard loss because there were guys in his face when he got the football handoff. So I think things are going to be, me personally, I think that Michael Carter is going to have, more of a role than a lot of people think. And it's wonderful that Brees is here, but I don't think that Michael Carter is just going to kind of go away.
I almost want to get a Michael Carter jersey just because I love his attitude. I love his approach. And that he is being overlooked. It's not what I'm talking about is not the role that I want him to have, but it is the role that I see him settling into because that's what the coaches decree to be, the way that it should go. But, if something were to happen to Brees, I feel very confident that Michael Carter can carry the offense for a while as the feature running back. So, let's see what they wind up doing. But I'm just looking at these two running backs and how they complement one another. And I think I see Carter as more of that third down as the finisher. Maybe even, I don't know about a goal line back, but I like him as like the finisher. That's the type of thing. The guy who moves the chains, kind of like what Jericho Cotchery was for us as a wide receiver. I think Carter could be that kind of a player as a running back. The other thing that I do wonder about is, will Mike LaFleur find a way to use both Hall and Carter on the field together? We're talking a lot about 2 tight ends, things like that. I'm curious about, can you come up with a formation where both Hall and Carter are on the field and their talents can both be utilized? I'll be fascinated to see if they try that.
Setting up a poll right now.
Oh, this is what happens when you get to 1,000, folks.
Nick Fant is ranked much higher, the tight end for Seattle, than Conklin is. But I'm very tempted to take Conklin because I think that Zach's really going to love throwing to him.
Conklin is criminally underrated in fantasy. My goodness. He and Davis, no love for those two at all. Amazing.
I'm asking Jet fans, which is funny. Like, what do I think the answer is going to be?
Who's throwing the ball to Noah Fant? That's what I want to know. Drew Lock. Noah Fant. Come on now.
Yeah. I mean, who's throwing the ball there? Yeah, that's the problem.
I'm like, considering there is not a Nick Fant in the league, that kind of makes the question even easier to answer.
There's no Nick Fant in the league? What's his name?
It's Noah Fant. Noah
Fant. Oh,
yeah.
Darn it. I always get it wrong. Why am I saying Nick Fant? Why do I always say that? I even call George Fant Nick Fant. It's amazing.
Oh, boy.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I hate guys named Nick. I'm telling you.
Unless their last name is Bawden. That's about the only exception.
That's right. Nick Bowden's cool. But, man, every other Nick, oh.
I would trust him. Yeah, I would trust him as far as I could throw him, which would be really hard to do.
To prepare for my trip to New Jersey, I looked up images for Tyler ham and egg and cheese sandwiches, and then but some of them that came up said pork roll, egg and cheese sandwiches. So I said, okay, so it is the same product, even though people argue about how to order it. But anyway, it looked really delicious. Like, I could see why people were saying it's not ham. It looks more like almost like a Canadian bacon span type thing, like a thing that you cook and grill on both sides. But it looks really good, mainly because I missed the rolls in New York, New Jersey, like the Kaiser rolls. And seeing pictures of those rolls was making my mouth water. So, but anyway. Okay, well, let's see what he's got to say.
Yeah.
I actually used to love the name Nick because I used to watch the show Family Ties, and Mallory's boyfriend's name was Nick, and someone was someone was trying to convince him. Oh no, okay, I love that character, but also it was the movie uh, The Sure Thing with John Cusack. When he's trying to convince the girl why she shouldn't date this other guy, he's like trying to convince her, you gotta date a guy named Nick. Nick's your pal. Nick's your buddy. Nick will drink a beer with you. Nick will get you home at night when you're too drunk to drive. Like he was like beefing up the name Nick, and it felt all kind of true. Like, yeah, a guy named Nick is that kind of guy. So I don't. But
yeah, Nick actually called me this morning. I picked up. And I told him. I said, "Oh, I figured it'd be your agent calling me now."
Yeah.
After his appearance on One Jets Drive, I figured it would have gone to his head by now.
New York's undrafted rooks back Jonathan Knight is making an early case to crack the final 53-man roster. USA Today.
I love the idea. Let's see what happens after Monday. Yeah, let's see what Monday. All these narratives they're going to change. Let's see what points. Let's see what opinions we have that get reinforced, and some of these are going to be turned around 180 degrees. Because we're going to treat these like nobody's business, especially with only 3 games. By the way, one fantasy rule I have: I never do a draft until after the second round of preseason games, because the worst thing ever is to do a draft and then like one of your top 3 or 4 picks gets injured in a freaking preseason game. This is the most helpless feeling in the world.
This is a non-money draft. It's pure adrenaline fantasy sports. It's John Post, my buddy. John Post, who you've seen on the channel. So it's his draft, and I don't know why they did it so early, but I said it's free, so what do I care? I'll just throw my hat into another draft. The one that I put money on was, and it's not. I mean, I used to do one in New York, $100 one every year, but the one I have money on this year is a $55 one with the Jet Lounge. But I think so many people signed up, it might be like a 16-team league. Like it might be really big, I hate those because it's going to be like by the 4th round, you're drafting backup players. You know what I mean? It's like crazy. So it really tests your knowledge of like those, the deep guys. And I think there's also a lot of luck, like about you get backup guys and who the starter gets hurt and then you end up having the right guy, so, yeah, so we'll see. But let's see. I drafted Dobbins in the 3rd round last year. Shut up, Adam. Dead to me.
You'll miss me, Nick. You'll miss me.
Dobbins is highly.
I'm gonna go get some. Yeah, Nick. I'll go get some Taylor ham. I'll be back.
Dobbins is highly underrated because of that injury this year as well. Like, I mean, he's dropped very far in fantasy. He's one of the guys I missed out on by like 2 picks that I was going to grab him. So I'm a little bit bummed about that. The other guy is the Ravens' #1 receiver. What was Bateman or something?
Bateman,
yeah. He doesn't go until round 6 or 7.
No. And then no Ravens receivers go again. I mean, Andrews will go like round 2. I mean, Mark Andrews, my goodness. I mean, people treat Mark Andrews I mean, he's good, but people treat him like he's, Tony Gonzalez in his peak. I mean, Andrews isn't going to have 10 catches a game. He'll only have 4 or 5, but he'll have a couple of really long ones. That's what I find Andrews tends to do. So if it's PPR, I'd be a little more careful of Andrews.
Yeah, it's going to make Tigo hit the fan. You want to talk about how ridiculous this was? There's somebody. I mean, I think there was some bad picks. That's why I got Jamal Chase at 11. One dude, I don't know how you guys are going to feel about this. He picked Kelsey with the 8th pick overall.
No.
So he picked Kelsey before Jamal Chase.
No.
Or Jamar Chase.
No. I'm even trying to factor in the PPR and the fact that Tyreek Hill is gone, so you could make the argument that the offense is going to go through Kelsey. Mm-hmm. But to draft a tight end 1st round, that is tough.
I love where I got Juju because I think he's gonna have a big comeback year being on Kansas City.
I think it's possible. And now what's his name? McCole Hardeman got carted off today. I don't think it's gonna be season ending, but Hardeman got carted off today. Oh, wow. So Yeah, maybe they're gonna bring back Demarcus Robinson. Demarcus Robinson is still a free agent, so that's something to watch for this week.
Right. But Juju's going to be in there every play, right? I mean, he's going to be like definitely a starting receiver, like while he's out there. I think.
I got a question. I'll ask you guys a fantasy question. If you could have any one rookie wide receiver, who would you draft, regardless of position? But if you could add one to the team, who would it be?
What do you mean rookie? Like for this year's rookie?
Yeah, this year's rookie class.
Well, I always I have Drake London. I have Drake London, but I didn't draft him. But I already have him in my fantasy. But
yeah, I'll probably go with Drake London. Absolutely, he was the guy that I was hoping the New York Jets would draft. Big body wide receiver, very easy. Zach Wilson does not have to be. I'm a USC guy. I just want to divulge that information. Okay.
At all? Okay.
Right
so,
but
were you drafting Darnold? Will you be drafting Darnold?
I was excited when we drafted Sam Darnold, but he makes things really, really easy. And it was crazy that again, Atlanta snapped him up before there was even a question of us being able to grab him. But if you listen to all the reports, he is a star there already. Like he's had a phenomenal camp. They're excited about him. They're talking about him being one of the better players offensively for him. And that's why that I remember, again, like you said as well, the knee injury, but he's going to be all right. I think they should just be very, cautious with that. And just, if you have to sit him until the season starts, I would do that. But he's going to be a guy, if he can stay healthy, he's going to be a guy that's going to be a nightmare in this league. I really believe it. He's just so big and he's so physically gifted. And he's a guy that we talk about can put it all together out there on the field. All of it, man. He's really good. Really, really good.
I really like how many different answers we're getting in the chat. We're seeing Olave, we're seeing Watson, we're seeing Pickens. Pickens, by the way, is a very good choice, I think. But for me, I'm going to go a little different direction. I would really consider Sky Moore with the Chiefs because he's got Patrick Mahomes. I love his speed, love his size. I think he's going to get a chance to play. Treylon Burks did not have a very good start in his first game with the Titans. I would have had a good feeling about Burks, but I've got a good feeling about Sky Moore doing something. I know Jim Pock loves Alec Pierce. Loves him some Alec Pierce. Pierce has to work his way into the lineup. I don't know if he's going to get the playing time. He very well may, and being that Pierce grew up not too far from where I lived for 20 years, I hope he does well. But I think Pierce might be that type of receiver who needs that redshirt year to really get going. So I think it's going to be a little bit more of a transition. I really like Sky Moore as the season goes on. But good choice, Chris, with the George Pickens. He's gonna get some playing time with Johnson and with Claypool. So
the only problem is who's throwing the ball. That's the problem. In Pittsburgh, it's like that's the only thing I don't like about it. If we had a Ben in his prime, I would love Pickens a lot more. So
no kidding.
But anyway, guys, we're gonna get ready to wrap it up. So if we could pass it around, I'll start with Long Beach Joe. Tell everybody what you got going on. If guys in the chat, if you have not subscribed to Long Beach Joe's channel, I don't know what you're waiting for because you're not doing it right. If you're not,
yeah, thank you so much, and again, thank you for having me on, Jeremy. It's always just wonderful to come on and talk football with you, and just sit back and have a good time. For everybody who may not know, my name's Long Beach Joe. My YouTube show is Long Beach Joe Jets. I'll drop my link tree in the chat. You hit that link tree, it has links to all of my social media platforms, all of my YouTube pages. So just stop on by. Please subscribe to all my YouTube pages. And again, follow me across my social media platforms. I love going back and forth with people about this football team and just talking about everything, man. And we have a lot of fun. I do a year-round radio show talking about the New York Jets. And you can call in and you can talk about what we all the discussions and things we got going, man. There's so much going on here, so much positivity surrounding. Even though Zach Wilson is dealing with the situation there, we're going to be all right. And going forward, we also do live watch-alongs during the season, watch the game together, and then after it, we have a live radio show. And we talk about what happened during the game. Also game as well on my channel from time to time when I can. So, if you see me pop up playing NBA 2K, Madden, GTA, something like that, don't be surprised. We really sit down and we have a lot of fun. I call my chat the Savages. They get savage. It is what it is. And salutes to all the Savages that was in here tonight and went back and forth with me too. So that's what I do, and I have a lot of fun. Again, Long Beach Joe Jets. Please come on by. Again, please check out my link tree. Has links to everything in there. Thank y'all, man. Seriously, I really appreciate y'all.
Yeah, hey Joe, right before we go, put a regular message in the chat so I can make you a moderator. I'll highlight your name and then you can put the link and it won't delete it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so just like throw in a regular thing and I'll make you a moderator, and that allows you to put in links.
Yeah,
awesome.
Fantastic job. Yeah, fantastic job, Joe. Thank you.
Thank you.
While he's doing that, Adam?
Yep. So my channel, like it says right under here, is NY Sports Wicker Media. We just made a few changes. I put up a video about a half hour before the show began tonight about why I think that the Jets can win week 1, even if Joe Flacco is the starting quarterback. It's about a 5-minute watch. Won't take too much of your time. And I've got a new background on there. I got a little bit of an intro video that I put on there. And I even changed the background a little bit. So it's sort of a redesigned NY Sports Wicker Media. So go ahead and watch the video. I would really appreciate it. Let me know what your thoughts are. Anything that you want to see me work on or anything you want to see me talk about, anything that you like, let me know. I appreciate your feedback. And, hey, we'll be here every Wednesday night. You know the time, you know the place. And check us out tomorrow with Green Bean. So far, I'm 0 for 3 in stumping the chat. They're getting pretty good, so I'm going to have to turn it up a little bit, make it a little bit more challenging tomorrow night. So, hey, Monday night preseason game. It's going to be fun. I'll be watching with the Virginia Jets fans, and I think afterwards, then I'll put up a video for my thoughts about that game, provided I haven't had too much Fireball. So.
Sounds great.
We like
guys.
our Fireball.
I want to thank all those savages in the chat. Thanks for coming tonight. Thanks to my snackers. I appreciate the support. Thanks to all of you who have subscribed. Thanks to all of you who hit that like button, who participate in the chat. Everybody here is appreciated. I appreciate my guests for coming on. Long Beach Joe, so happy to have you part of this channel and coming on so often and being willing to, and like it's just means a lot to me. You're someone that's been doing this for a long time, and I love your show, so it's absolutely fantastic to have you. Adam, you've been here from the start with me, so right from the beginning when we had like under 100 subs, so I appreciate you sticking with me all this time. And you do a great job, and that's why the Wednesday show is what it is. Guys, have an amazing rest of your week.
Let's go, Flacco. We got to acknowledge Klecko real quick.
We need to all say salutes to Joe Klecko. It's about time they did it.
January, this gets finalized. So just got 80% of the vote from the senior committee. It's supposed to be, according to Rich Cimini, a formality. That's the word. So January is when we're going to find out.
He should have been in the Hall of Fame a long time ago. Long time ago. There's a lot of Jets that should have been in the Hall of Fame a long time ago, but he is definitely one of the guys. And I'm happy that, if everything goes, like you said as well, like Rich says, a formality, that he's going to get in because it's about time. That guy deserves it. And he should have been in a while ago. So I'm excited for him. Salutes and respect to Klecko.
It was long overdue, and for the next Jet to get in, being Joe Klecko, I couldn't agree that he was the most deserving. Even though there are more to go, that was the guy who had to get in. Good night, everybody. We talked about my reaction to Michael Clemens in the draft. Well, if you want to see it, it's right here. Don't not be Thibodeau. And here it comes. It's about to come in. Oh, my God. They didn't. They took Sauce Gardner. Oh, my God, they don't want an edge. Maybe he likes Jermaine Johnson at 10. Then we're not going to get a wide receiver?
Garrett Wilson, wide receiver. Oh, my God, no edge.
The Jets traded up. Are we taking JJ? Because I know Braden is in New Zealand saying, we should get Lily, Mike. He's definitely saying that. JJ! We got Johnson! We got Johnson at 26! We got Johnson at 26! This is great! Yes! They took Roger McCreary, they didn't take Dean, and we traded up. We can get Jacoby Dean. We can get Jacoby Dean. It really is. They took Breece Hall. They took Breece Hall. Wow. I mean, look, I love Breece Hall. But there's also Jeremy Ruckert, who I think is the best tight end in the class personally. They took Jeremy Ruckert. He took Jeremy Ruckert. Yes! We got a Jeremy. We got a Jeremy. Oh, and the Jets pick, and it's Max Mitchell, offensive tackle. We needed that. That's wow. We took Michael Clemens. I never heard of him. A defensive edge.